think the little boy, he got accepted into the grammar school, but then he got caught stealing. It's caught by the police.
Oh, that was their son going through his delinquent stage.
Yeah. So did you finish the comic, Stephen?
Yeah, I finished it a couple of days ago. It was a rather pleasant read.
So what happened in the end?
Oh, well, it turns rather tragic towards the end. They both die of old age in the same year, it seems. 1971 first. Was it Ethel? Ethel goes first, is it?
Yeah.
She seemed to have suffered from something like a bit like Alzheimer's, and started forgetting who her husband was. And she passes away, and then he's left all alone, talking to the cat. And then he has a heart attack and he falls down soon afterwards. So she was 5 years older than him. This is based on a true story.
Yeah.
We don't know how many liberties. It's a story of the cartoonist's parents. His mother was born in 1895 and his dad in 1900, which isn't all that far away from when my grandparents were born, 1890 and 1893. And he, the author, was born in 1934, which is my dad was born in 32, my mother in 34.
Going from the Wikipedia article, Stu?
Well, actually, I can't recall where I read it now. I just remembered the dates. Yeah, I did check the Wikipedia. Yeah, that's the case. And
oh, you weren't reading it? It's just going off your memory.
Yeah. A little bit of a memory for facts and figures.
Yeah, that's cool. Yes. This was Raymond Briggs, of course. I guess he's best known for When the Wind Blows and The Snowman. And this was his story of his parents. I read this probably about 20 years ago. Well, yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's a very sweet story. A lot of the stuff we've been doing have been a lot more heavier and fraught with meaning. This was very sweet and sentimental, and I thought it was it's very, very moving, very touching. Do we want to go through it? We got enough people here who are interested, I think. So.
Well, what do we start off with? He's riding past. She's a maid, holding out a duster out the window.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, well,
he goes past on his push bike and thinks she's waving to him.
Well, there they are, right there. The actual pair, the two of them. When was this out? Yeah, 98. Okay. Yeah, okay. So, well, first of all, I mean, it's Raymond Briggs. I mean, for goodness sake, it's just lovely art. I mean, the art is just lovely, for goodness sake. I mean, of course, it's Raymond Briggs. I mean, he's just such a master, and very under-acknowledged as a really champion cartoonist. You never see him put on the great lists of the great cartoonists, but he really is, no question.
So this is a very pleasing to the eye art form.
Yeah, I think it's just
soft,
I think it's
gentle.
Colored pencil and maybe some. Yeah, I think mostly colored palette, maybe some crayon actually. Really nice work. Yeah, all the texture on the colors.
So in 1928, that's about as exciting as it gets. You know, there's a young guy more or less on his own, and he's got a thing going with a girl which is hanging by a thread.
Yeah, this is such a dynamic sequence. You've got such tight panels here. It's such tight panel continuity that it really gives you a feeling of activity, gives you a feeling of the storyline moving, because this is the only time you'll get that, and it's a wordless sequence. You just follow along what's happening.
So we've got Ethel, who's on the verge of going from a young maid to an old maid.
Yeah, well, I guess she's 27 here and still not married. Yeah, that's
No, she's actually older. In
Really?
1928, she's 33.
Oh, wow, what do you go? Okay.
It's getting pretty ancient in the 1920s, I imagine.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, well, there weren't a lot of options for women back in the day. I mean, you don't have an education. Yeah, you're very limited with what your opportunities are. And
Guessing Ethel actually had some type of education. Ernest, not a great deal, or he does take an active interest in reading about something like popular mechanics or something like that.
Now this is interesting because what you see here, where he says, "How about coming to the pictures with me?" And look at Ethel. Now, I think this is fairly significant if you pay very close attention here. She is a person who is very much more concerned and impressed by the outward symbols of things, much more than their internal meaning. You see, she's more impressed by the bouquet here of flowers than anything else. That's the outward appearance is very important to her. She's more concerned about the outward appearance of things.
Well, this is what the cartoon is suggesting.
It seems to me, yeah, and given the rest of the story and what we learn about her, you can see this, and it's a very, very interesting how he presents this. So you get you see, yeah, she's not her internal experience is not terribly rich. For her, it's all outward expressions that's really what counts. The appearance, keeping up appearances.
And I did read up on Victor Laglan, Victor McLaglen.
Mm-hmm.
A boy's own, typically boy's own sort of movie star, originally British. He comes over to Hollywood. He's a huge guy, slightly larger than John Wayne, that plays in the Silent Cowboy movie. So you can imagine this huge hulking guy with a white hat on. And for young Ernest, this is the role model. This is a champion boxer. This is a cowboy. This is the big man. This is boy's own. And he's lived years getting his machos off in the movie theatre, because that's the only place he could get his machos off in the modern era.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the phrase? Most people live lives of quiet desperation. Yeah. Yeah, and this is really the story of two very, very brave lives that are, at the mercy of the gears of history. Really.
Where did you guys get the book? Is this available online by any chance, or?
Yeah, where do we get the books? If you have any difficulty getting a book, contact me. I'll connect you up. The physical copies are probably available through Amazon or other venues. They're most modern contemporary graphic novels are available digitally. You can purchase them digitally. And again, if you have any difficulty, contact me, and keep it on the down low. I can send it to you.
Okay,
But
cool.
we like to encourage people to purchase and support artists, but I understand it's very difficult these days.
Yeah, I understand.
Buy everything but Yeah, just contact me. I'll be happy to connect you with what we're reading.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Our street's full of diddy coys.
What are those?
I looked that one up. A diddy coy was a term at the time for a gypsy,
Oh,
but it might have meant, migrants, in the Britain that didn't admit much to migrants. So he was from the bad end of town, the very much the service end of town, where she was working as a maid for some well-off people. Costermongers I didn't look up.
I can guess what that means, though. I guess meaning like people who put their beer mugs on coasters, perhaps.
There's fights outside pubs, women too. Coppers won't go down there. Last one that did go, they bashed him up, then sat on him and blew his whistle to fetch more coppers. It's not your cup of tea, darling. Now, this is an interesting thing. I did talk with an old fella, going back about 35 years ago, and he'd worked in this factory I was working in. He'd worked there since the 1930s, and he was pointing out before World War II, when the advanced place like Australia was a time when street gangs roamed around. It was a time when criminals were portrayed as heroes, and that all vastly changed after World War II in the world we grew up in, which seemed all pretty modern. There was never anything going wrong, but this is the interesting thing. Prior to World War II, things weren't always that great. I do recall stories that people are often on starvation's edge. Very, very small food supplies and stuff like that prior to World War II. So this is a world which we haven't experienced.
Okay, got it here. Costermonger is a street seller of fruit and vegetables from a hand cart. Costermonger. The word is costard. It's a variety of apple, a costard apple. Yeah, it's an interesting depiction of the history, certainly, and I found it fascinating, to live through these times through this book and be able to, see what it was like to live through this era. Mm. Mm.
Am I to understand that you wish to leave us to get married to a man?
Yeah, you kind of wonder what their story is. You kind of wonder what these two girls here kind of wonder what's going on there with them. Yes, madam. Ever so sorry.
They don't look like they've ever been married to a man.
Yeah, kind of some kind of Emily Dickinson thing happening with them, I'm thinking.
Serves them right, bloated plurocrats.
Yeah, serves them right. Bloated plutocrats. There's no need to swear, Ernest. Yeah, that's Ethel for you. Always very prim and proper, and wonder what the
They'll
swear
soon
is
get
for.
another skivvy.
Yeah, I was not a skivvy. I was a lady's maid. Yeah. And I just like the where he decides to go for a close up, and he pulls out for an open panel here, where this panel is just very open. It gives you the impression of they got the rest of their lives. This is their big action sequence here. And so you drop out the panel borders and just have it be an open white background with the splash of color behind them. Yeah, very nice, and it's very effective, I think.
And to mention the politics, that she tend to be on the conservative side, and he was the radical socialist.
Yeah. back at a time where you could actually have that kind of mixed political persuasion marriage. Yeah, I think
Okay, now they're buying their brick terrace, which today is considered a great place for the wealthy of modern
Yeah.
London.
those famous London terrace homes. Yeah. Every time you see a TV show or a movie in London, you just see, yeah. All
Yeah,
identical,
well,
they're all
£825. Now he's earning. He says he'll be earning almost 3 guineas a week soon. So who knows about the guinea and the pound?
oh yeah, I looked it up at one point. I don't know.
Well, a guinea was always costed at 21 shillings. Now a pound was normally 20 shillings, and originally the guinea had been a gold coin, which had been used before the Napoleonic War. It started off as 20 shillings, and then in 1717 was re-gazetted at 21 shillings, and remained that until the Napoleonic War. Britain went off the gold standard during the Napoleonic War and introduced fiat currency for most of the war. And when they reintroduced precious metal coinage after the Napoleonic War, they introduced a replacement coin called the sovereign, which was a little bit lighter. So that was worth 20 shillings, but the old guinea coin was worth 21. And of course, the old guinea coin must have disappeared after several decades completely.
Yeah.
But they continued using this old term guinea for 21 shillings, so something slightly bigger than a pound, and it just kept on going. And I can't say I've researched the full psychology of it.
I think Tom Lehrer did a song about this, actually. The British money system.
Wrought iron gates, your ladyship. This is very significant, the wrought iron gate. Remember that bit.
Okay. Marble pillar, yeah. Yeah. French window, yeah. Yeah, she's just someone, the material objects are extremely important to her. She's the type of person, yeah, material comforts.
It's still got gas lighting.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Yeah, not everything's been electrified yet. Brother Fred's got a wireless. You can hear Germany. Look, a bathroom. Blimey. Just he's a cartoonist who just revels in color. You can tell. I mean, I was thinking this, well, the other thing that we were doing, could this have been told as effectively in black and white? Maybe it could have been, but Raymond Briggs just like rejoices in just the color of it, of the artwork. You can tell he's just, and just the sensual appeal of the color. To me,
black and white would have left it very stark and very flat.
Yeah.
Okay, for superheroes, I suppose.
Well, I think there's a certain immediacy and there's a certain intimacy to a black and white comic. But yeah, this just gives you like an emotional, sensual immersion with the color, I think. Yeah. Yeah, you get the sense of such energy in his drawing, to me anyway.
So I wonder what the cat represents. It's sitting on the back shed or standing on it.
Yeah, if you pay very close attention and if you read this entire book, all of it, all the way through, pay attention to the cat, because there's a story going on with the cat, even though it's never acknowledged. But you see, this is a stray cat. This wasn't theirs. It's just hanging around there in the back garden. and just there on the shed. That's obviously not theirs. It's a stray. But then, yeah, they'll never actually say. So there's the cat going on. And just Raymond really respectfully, presenting the depiction of the world. Just very, you can feel the affection that he has for it in his drawing.
Oh, look, an airplane. You can just vaguely see a little airplane, that patch of blue in the corner.
Yeah, I don't think he's in any way, taking a snobby attitude towards this. It's a very affectionate and loving depiction of their world. I think that comes across.
Is this done in watercolor or like crayons? I think there's a bit of.
Yeah, I think you're talking before you came here. It looks to me like a lot of colored pencil and crayon. And some of these textures, yeah, I think that's like crayon on textured paper or textured canvas, possibly. Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, when you see that kind of texturing there.
It's too rich to be watercolor. It should be.
No, I don't think there's any watercolor involved here. No. It's colored pencil and crayon, maybe.
Well, that takes longer time.
Yeah. I think he's really, really. I mean, it's not a very slick style like you're going to see in Marvel superhero comics. With the slick inking. I don't think there's any ink involved. It's all just look at the rendering of the figures, and yeah. I think it's direct from pencils reproduction. But I think it's lovely, just lovely work.
Yeah, I think it is.
And he's very good with panel to panel continuity. He's just your eyes are just drawn along through this story. And here, every time they have this emotional burst, they burst through the panel borders. That's always always a good technique. Emotional highs, you get the characters bursting through a panel border, or the panel borders drop out entirely, and the backgrounds drop out when it becomes mostly about them. Your focus turns on the figures.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the backgrounds as much. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, look at that.
And the font's different as well. It's got that pencil style that really is really well balanced with the entire aesthetic.
Yeah, really, really, really nice work. Really nice work. Look at that.
What's the interesting thing for Ethel is she's going from serving somebody else's home to serving her own home.
Yeah.
So it's there is an essence of property in her life now. She's still doing the same job, but she owns it.
Yeah. Just you keep off my clean step, young man. Yeah, teasing each other.
And he gets to keep his job as a milkman during the Great Depression.
Yeah. Yeah, really nice work. Really nice. I mean, I think the artwork is really one of the main, attractions, of course, of the graphic novel medium is well done artwork, and this is just lovely, lovely. Good, good writing can carry a story through if the art is mediocre, but it's so much better if you have really an expert artist working on it. And here, of course, this is just one guy doing this, of course. I mean, you can tell Briggs has an emotional connection here. Obviously, he's telling the story of his parents, but it does come across.
So why does he call his wife a duck?
Oh, that's just British colloquialisms.
Comes from the word duchess.
Oh, is that right? I see. Okay. Yeah, you hear British people in old movies and old British TV shows. Yeah, they say that. Okay, now I got it. Didn't know that. Cool. Yeah, they're just. Isn't that what you said, Stephen? They're just Mr. and Mrs. every man, Mr. and Mrs. anybody. There's nothing particularly special about them, but isn't that what's particularly important about their lives? They're just, they're representatives of every citizen of living at this time and place. They're just the average British citizen and trying to get through life as best they can. And the larger issues of politics and economics and social changes, I mean, those are just, you get into the whole, are we, at the thrall of the mercy of, the grand sweeping hand of history?
Well,
They kind of are.
The Beatles song Penny Lane, of course, sentimentally refers to that simpler world which was encapsulated in its own culture.
Oh, that's right. The one I like is let's all get up and dance to a song that was a hit before your mother was born, though she was born a long time. Yeah.
So what do the British have that the Americans missed out on?
Well, I guess I don't know about that question. I would say history, a sense of history. We're a younger country.
Now, this is following the decline of the British Empire. The British Empire was stumbling at the end of World War One. It was a Pyrrhic victory for Britain, and they ended up greatly in debt to the US. So, but this was the thing: end of World War One to the end of World War Two, Britain was still respected as the world's leading power. The Bank of England was the reserve bank of the world. But the whole thing is, in those years, the Bank of England had to borrow money from the Fed to keep afloat. So this was Britain in decline, which hadn't noticed it was in decline.
The dying there. This is the dying days of the empire, isn't it? Yeah. World War II really was the last hurrah of the empire.
This bloke, Adolf Hitler, it says they're publishing his book over here, and he's donating the proceeds to the Red Cross. What a noble effort.
Oh, that's nice of him. Good gosh. Holy gosh. Only they knew. Yeah.
I got only $50. I got it off a Diddy Coy.
Is that what he says? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just where, they're just building a life together, that point in your early youthful marriage where you're just trying to establish what the rest of your life is going to be and build your home and furnish it and establish a routine with each other to realize that you're going to spend the rest of your lives together as a pair, as a couple, and just that kind of enthusiasm you have for the whole project and that kind of emotional bonding that you're starting. I think this is a good depiction of all that.
And Matalia is still wrapped in her new mobile phone.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how things are today. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I could. Yeah.
I'm just.
Her father bought her a top of the range phone for her birthday. So Which is probably, well, she
It's
spends
not
all
top
the
of the
time.
range. It was released last year.
Well, pretty much close to top of the range.
It wasn't really that. Yeah, I guess it's not bad. Well, yeah, so far. Actually, I noticed something in the comic, like Ethel's personality changed a little bit. I think she became a bit more. I suppose she's a mother, so she became a bit more proactive in her verbally and physically, and
Yeah,
she just
that's true.
appears a little more aggressive rather than her previous occupation where she was a lady's maid.
Yeah.
They
I mean, you can't help but be, a person of your time, whatever time and place you're born into, of course, and you're always affected by it.
I may have missed it, but did they show the food that they eat and tea and cookies and stuff like that? I love to see stuff like that, tea and cookies.
I think they did, but then they didn't really focus on that aspect of the narrative.
It
was just more about the bigger picture, the life. It's the slice of life after all.
And the birth of Raymond, we've got, and of course that's the only one they're gonna have. No more children, no more wife. I'm sorry. But we wanted a proper family. They wanted a larger family, but there's no way she could have endured another birth. So Raymond. So now they're a trio: mom, dad, and baby.
Yeah, fortunately, back in those days, you only had sex to have children, so it was pretty okay, I imagine, afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, people now can take contraception pills and birth control, so there won't be a problem with that.
You remember, just lie back and think of England. I think it's just such a very sentimental, if you've been here, regularly, we've done stuff that are very, very, deep and very tendentious and serious and things that you have to, delve into. And then this one is just very much a very light-hearted, sweet, affectionate depiction of the cartoonist's parents and this couple.
Ethel's made it in terms of her own time. She has her own house and her own kid. In other words, she's graduated in her class as a woman. She doesn't really have to go terribly much further.
Mark the win in your column on your bingo card or something like that. she wins at this point.
Actually, that's a good point you made. I think was it Stephen or David? Well, you said that Ernest and Ethel, they have different politics, and then they just back then probably different politics. The kind of marriage was okay back then in the past, but now it's always like focus on common interests and common values. So that has changed over decades.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to see it today with such polarization that we're experiencing. I mean, I can't see how. Well, I mean, James Carville and Mary Madeline, but boy, one wonders what things must be like, I mean.
So what was lost there in Anglo-Saxon civilization was the common respect. There was a difference and there was even animosity, but it was still, there was like a plane there of common respect as the lowest common denominator, which we've pierced today. We've gone down below.
Yeah, well, if you've heard me talk, as much as you've been coming to my groups, Stephen, I mean, now the level of discourse is incredible today with Fox News and just saying, the internet is just terrible. But we've talked about that endlessly, haven't we?
Yeah.
No, okay, I'm wondering about
Do you
this
think
old
that
woman here. Oh, sorry, Matteo. I'm just curious. Before we go, what's the story with this old woman here?
no problem?
It's that's Ernest's stepmother.
Oh, okay. She looks. She, oh, it's you again. You better come in. she
Ernest.
doesn't think much of his relatives, does she?
Wait,
She looks
sorry,
like the remnants of My Fair Lady. Yeah. When
She looks like Mary Poppins, but not as well. Not exactly like Julie. Was her Julie Andrews? But
Yeah. Remember we
yeah,
did.
sorry, Matteo, you didn't forget your point, did you?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I was just it just makes me realize that perhaps like Ethel, I think, or Ethel, like she married Ernest. Maybe was it just for the sake of codependency, or it just makes me wonder if they really love each other after knowing that they have a bit of differences, and that it just reminds me of my parents because, well, my father's, well, I say slightly has a better income than my mother, so, well, I don't, as far as I can tell, my mother didn't marry my father because she really loved him, but she just married him out of codependence and thought she'll have a better life with him. Yeah. That'll let just live up her reputation for a bit. And so,
That's
was it
amazing.
common back in those days? Yeah, was that like a common thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I could say much the same about my own parents. Natalia, I get the impression the same. That was the same for my parents too. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I get that's what the
So,
impression I got. I get. Yeah.
so either your mother or your father were wealthier, and then the other just married.
Well, from what I gather is yeah, my mother just wanted out of her family, and marriage was just the quickest way for her to do that.
Yeah, I know.
So, uh,
But my aunt, she's yeah, she's different. She's not the same as the rest of her siblings, where they just decided to marry a man and to have kids because it'll just make their life prosperous. But my aunt's a bit more individualistic in her thinking, and but yeah, she hasn't married. She's about like in about 50, I think now. So, well, she just thought it'll be nice to meet someone at her around her age, but she wouldn't want to consider the prospects of marriage anymore.
Did you know
Yeah.
if you're a Jew in Germany?
oh, okay. Yeah, there's stuff going on here. Yeah. Well, you see the advancement of technology, certainly with radio and television and electric stuff coming in.
Here, Ern, turn that blessed wireless thing off, will you? There's a good boy.
I don't want that man listening to what I'm saying. Yeah. Not really clear on the concept of modern technology. You can see. I don't
Oh,
want
well,
that man listening to us.
the radio was a new thing between the 20s and the 1940s.
Yeah. Yeah.
People didn't have radios prior to the end of World War One. There was something that really, for most people, started coming in the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah.
Did you know
Oh,
if you're
okay.
a Jew in Germany, you're forbidden to marry a German?
And all she says is, "I'd hate to marry a German."
Which will probably lead to this comic being banned.
Nice balloon placement, Raymond Briggs. I mean, how do that's always a kind of a problem because we read left to right. How do you, if the character speaking first is on the right side, how do you manage the balloons? And a good expert balloon placement, because he put Ethel's balloon below, so you read from top to bottom. solving the problem. A lot of lesser cartoonists would have done the thing where you have crossing balloon tails, because it would have been the right character speaking first, and his balloon would be on the left of the panel, and then the left character would be speaking, and their balloon would be on the right of the panel, and you'd have to cross the two balloon tails. And that's always a terrible graphic that you should never ever do that, Natalia. I'm not saying you're doing. I'm saying I'm just giving an example that this is how the little tiny tricks of the trade that you have to be aware of.
Yeah, that's actually what I intend to do, to actually place the balloons out of the panel.
Yeah,
It's a bit more dynamic and a bit more liquid.
Be very careful. And lesser artists are very sloppy, but you can tell he's an expert and knows exactly what to do with the reader's eye, because here you're reading from top to bottom, and that's a very nice solution to that problem.
I need practice.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say you're making a mistake, because I have no idea if you are or not. I'm just saying these are one of the reasons why you're here, is to understand the mechanics of how to construct a comics page.
Yeah.
And this is just things to notice. Sorry, I'm running on like 2 hours of sleep right now, so I'm not at my best.
Oh, it's all right. What time is it now in Seattle?
So here we go. The BBC is going to start television. Television. Oh, what's that? Wireless set with pictures on topping. Moving pictures, talkies. Yes, it'll be like going to the pictures without going on. I'm not going to do any of the accent.
Yeah, the British started with TV just before World War II. It was the first use of TV on a very limited basis.
And it's nice that their dialogue is going, and it's not just talking heads. There's activity. She's doing her laundry. She's doing her working the washing and wringing the laundry. It's visually interesting. It's not just talking heads, which is one thing you get with a lot of comics. Is just people sitting around talking, and it's just panel after panel after panel of people sitting around talking. Raymond keeps your visual interest up. This is a visual medium. You need to have activity going, and Raymond does that. And good design of the pages. Look at this. Let's go out a little bit. You see, these pages are very well designed. Nice top opening, and then smaller things, and then a nice balance to the page, to all these pages. They're nicely balanced. They're nicely composed. Composition is very nice. Look at this. You got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Big one at the bottom. Really, really very nice. A lot of activity. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The more you get tighter panels, depicts a lot of activity, a lot of action happening in a very short period of time. Staccato, individual sentences for balloon, line, and then a nice big one to open it up a little bit, so you get a kind of a musical punch at the end of it. Every page should be like a stanza in a poem, or just like a beat, in a musical piece.
That's a good analyzation.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm watching a tutorial in the way you're describing it.
Well, that's why you come here, Natalia, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, and I like the story as well, so that's why I'm curious to see what others think of it.
Because if he had done the whole thing with like this, beat 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and if he had kept going with it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it would have just been repetitive. It would have just been it would have just evened out. It would have just been bland. but this gives you, a punch at the end of it. It ties it together. It's
Mhm.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's move back in. Yeah, really nice work. Really nice work. I wonder why Raymond Briggs is not known as one of the all-time great cartoonists. He really ought to be. He really should be considered in all those, great, all-time great lists. But he rarely is. Occasionally, but not often. He's kind of overlooked because he's mostly known as a children's book author with The Snowman, but he should be better known. One of the reasons I make the choices I make to which comics to cover are I want to see about things that I think are like under acknowledged, underrepresented.
A woman's work is never done.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Well,
Average family needs £6 a week to keep it above the poverty line. What's the poverty line? Don't know. I wish I earned £6 a week.
yeah, they're at it and they don't know it. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, lovely work, really. Yeah, I think it is mostly crayon and colored pencil, but lovely work. Well, stuff like the clouds. I mean, I'm sure there must be like some kind of whiteout or whatever you call it. But lovely. Very, very impressionistic,
And almost the highest they aspire to is a walk in the park.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just shows you the march of time as they march through their lives, just Mr. and Mrs. Every Person. And it's just a really good depiction of not only these two individuals, but the society of England at the time.
Okay, stop right there. The tea house in the gardens, which is they've decided too expensive for their precious capital.
Looks a bit posh.
Yeah, well, this was, I've seen a lot of, I used to see a lot of signs of this in my childhood. I kept on seeing in my local town, which Matale is absolutely wrapped in my local town, Mordialloc, which is considered a really fashionable spot
Yes,
these
it is.
days. And, well, that's where I was when I was a kid. But, I could pick up the signs when I was a kid that this had been a tourist location once in the old days when to tour meant to hop on the train in the inner parts of the city and come out to the outskirts of the beach or and now, well, this place, Mordialloc, was a little bit like that. And I could see buildings there which looked like there'd been a bit of capital put into them, but everything had crashed. And so I guess everything had crashed during the Great Depression. And the place just became Spartan generally after that. A lot of the culture of the tea room and all that disappeared. And then as I got a bit older in the 1980s, 1990s, and now it's all come back. So you have eateries and tea houses all over the place in Australia. And my question is, are we about to hit another era where all this disappears again? Because this tea house they show here in the picture, of course, closes sometime during the war and never comes back. So this little quaint sign of the old world that's passing away. As I said, in 1914, the lights of civilization went out and we'll probably never see them turn on again. Those were the days, my friend. Of course, there's a famous song about being in Russia before the war started.
Mary Hopkins?
Yeah. Well, that was a much later version, but the original dates to post World War One, in the era of great suffering in Russia, where the guys reminiscing the old days before the war, before the revolution, and when there was still a bit of a bright spot in the clouds.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know the history of that song. I like that song. It's in a minor key. I like that song. Yeah.
Well, the pre World War One world was, for a century, Britain kept the peace. The conflicts were limited. There certainly wasn't actually a world war from the Napoleonic era until World War One. I mean, one of the fascinating things, of course, there were rivalries. And how did America get Alaska? Why did the Russians sell Alaska to America? Because the Russians decided, in the case of a conflict with Britain, they wouldn't be able to defend it from Britain, meaning Britain will get Alaska. So they decided to give it to the lesser of evils, the Americans, only to end up with the Bering Strait being one of the iron curtains of the Cold War. So that's irony, isn't it? Where the best laid plans go astray, you know?
And thus giving Sarah Palin her view from her front porch. Yeah, well, you can kind of see this. I remember Mike Nichols, when he directed the Broadway version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. First thing he said was he didn't understand. He signed on to be the director of the Broadway musical Holy Grail, Monty Python. And he said, he signed on to be the director. He took the job, but he said, I don't understand this. I don't understand what's this about? What's this story about? And then it took him a while, but he gradually realized, oh, of course it's about class. Of course it's about class. They're British. They only have one subject. Everything they do is about class. Every story they tell is about class. Yeah, the British class system is ubiquitous in their artwork and their literature. Everything they do is about class.
That was her class was better than his. Her class were of the domestic servants, so her P's and Q's are a lot better than his.
Yeah, you get that a lot with the difference between their upbringing, I guess. Looks a bit posh and therefore suspect. Yeah.
Some other time, dear. Yes, some other time.
Look at the figure work. I mean, he just has them all, very dynamic posing, very visually interesting. You don't just have them a lot of artists, you read comics, you just have static poses with the characters just standing around talking. It's a visual medium. You got to have them doing stuff, hands on his hips and, a lot of activity. Keep your visual interest up.
I've had it done.
Nice. Yeah, his hair. Yeah, a nice interaction with the figures and the balloons and the speech balloons. They're just so present. You can tell this is just such a very loud and obstreperous conversation that they're having. A lot of activity, a lot of emotional heat being generated here. And you can tell that by the word balloons. They're very big and prominent and almost crowding out the figures. I mean, this is why the comics medium is so effective and so unique to itself. You couldn't do stuff like this in any other medium. It's just a visual depiction of the emotions of this scene, that they're literally jostling up against their own speech balloons, Well,
blimey, it's got to be done, We can't have him running around like a blooming girl all his life. He's not a baby anymore.
Yeah. I'm just impressed with the formal mechanics of the medium. It's such a very powerful medium when done well. When done well, you can accomplish so much with this medium, with this form.
Sounds like Hitler's on the warpath, good and proper.
Yeah. Yeah, but you see, this scene is a lot more calmer. You see, it's a much more calmer conversation emotionally, and so it's depicted that way. You know, the word balloons are a bit more, a bit more relaxed. See, you get the emotional tone through the visual. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, goodness me, we're already an hour in. Here we are on 32, page 32. We could, if we don't, move up, we'll just be here like for 3 hours at this rate. But the advent of the war for them.
Yeah, I hadn't realised there were IRA bombs in London before World War II. It's possibly a reference I came across, which I'll have to investigate again.
Yeah, well, lots of political turmoil happening. Yeah, the IRA with in Ireland, of course, Ireland. And here's the where they get shipped off. I mean, the children of London got shipped off to protect them from the Blitz. Amazing. Just the other day, like just yesterday, I just saw somebody do a reaction video to the movie, Disney movie, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was
what was
about
the
the
name
children.
of the actress in there? I think she's still alive, isn't she?
Well, you mean Angela Lansbury?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. She was in Samson and Delilah, wasn't she? I recall now. With Victor
she's still alive. Yeah, she's still alive. Age 95.
She had the cameo role in the recent version of Mary Poppins.
That's right. I think that was her. Yeah, they got her. No, she was the. I didn't see that movie, but she was the bird lady, right? I didn't see it. Emily Blunt was. Yeah, I didn't hear it was all that great.
It was okay. I quite enjoyed it. Not quite the original though, but.
All right.
Russia's invaded Finland now. Well, the world's going to pot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I expect it will be okay. They say Hitler's assured Holland and Belgium of his friendship. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, look at how the visual, the picture just blurs out into white at the bottom. Very, very nice. That's a very nice effect. Just very, very, very lovely. It gives the image this timeless feel, this feeling of just the two of them, taking on the world, Just what a good coupling relationship feels like. You and me against the world. Well, I say I imagine. Never experienced it, but.
Yes, there's the Dug Fallout shelter, is it? Yeah, the maid, yeah.
Yeah, as I say, if we keep going at this pace, we'll be here for 3 hours. Let's see if we can speed things up here. But this is just such a great comic, and really worth the read. I never hear anybody put this on the greatest comics lists, but really it ought to be. This is a great comic, very good comic, graphic novel. Yeah.
Well, the windows are all broken.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, the Blitz. Yeah. And then he gives you a full page, or at least a very large panel, when it's appropriate, when it's necessary. God, I just can't get over how good an artist he is. He's just such a good artist. And he just, you're just pulled along. I mean, this is just such a, you're in the hands of a master. You're in the hands of a masterful storyteller. You're involved. You're immersed in this world and this narrative. Okay. 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 Well, let me see.
The welfare state.
Where was that? Yeah, right. Social Security from the cradle to the grave. Yeah, it's what the workers have always fought for. We've won. It will all have to be paid for, she says. Of course it will. We'll all chip in. That's the whole idea. You can't chip in if you're out of work. Hmm. Okay. Here's the.
Well, the interesting thing, of course, during the war, she's doing a more sophisticated job than him.
Yeah, that is interesting. And look at this, where you get the. This is just such a tremendous sequence. We got, I guess, one of these strikes on the countryside, and then the depiction of the explosion.
The V1 buzz bomb.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it must have been incredible to go experience things like that, for goodness sake.
That was a little bit later in the war as the German Air Force waned and their ability to bomb England declined. Or they started using the V1s first off to assault Britain. So they had a reprieve when the German Air Force was no longer capable of getting over Britain. But then Hitler got the buzz bomb, the V1, and eventually the V2.
Yeah, finally, the end of the war. Yeah, and what terrible. Come on, Arthur, it's VE Day. Cheer up. I lost my boy. Oh yeah, sorry, mate. I forgot. Sorry. Oh gosh. Good gosh. Yeah, terrible. Here we go. Labor's won. We're in.
Finally, all his dreams have come true.
The working man will be all right now, at last. Bloody marvelous. Ernest, Mr. Churchill never swears. He's a gentleman. I'm Labour, Mum. Shh, dear.
Yeah, well, Churchill had been the Conservative leader, and of course, when Labor
Right.
won, he was out.
Yeah. To think there'll never be another war. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
An electric car, an electric. This is an interesting thing. This one was running on electricity. Most people don't realise electric vehicles began prior to World War One.
Yeah. Well, aren't golf carts electric? Golf carts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. If you've been paying attention, you see the cat still hanging around. I mean, realistically, I don't know if that could possibly be the same cat, but visually, it's still the same. But
Now, this is a bit that gets me weird. This is when a guy's offering his wife because he can't be bothered with the effort that she's placing on him.
Yeah, maybe a depiction of changing social mores, possibly.
Like I say, you'd be doing me a favour. Blimey, no, mate, I couldn't. Sorry, I got a barrow to push.
Yeah, well, how would you go how would you go about something like that? I mean, not a lot of options. Anyway.
You wicked, wicked boy, I will kill you.
We'll own all the coal soon. They're going to nationalize it. I bet we'll still have to pay for it. Of course we'll have to pay for it. So we won't own it then, will we? Well, not exactly, but it means the profits will go to the government instead of lining the pockets of the bosses. And then the government gives the money to us? No. So what's the difference then? Right?
Wait, what are they arguing about here? I haven't reached this part. Is it the politics?
Well, it's politics. It's post-war. The Labor Party's come to power just after World War II, and finally, at last, they're going to create the socialist utopia.
Oh, okay.
Been waiting for years, and finally, they've got the power now to create it.
I see.
This is one of the. This is something I was checking into. Wartime rationing actually got worse in Britain when the war ended. And everyone blamed the Labor Party for this. Rationing didn't stop in Britain until 1954. Churchill got back in power on the promise that he would end rationing. So this is an interesting aspect that, we understand rationing in World War II. Britain's cut off. This is the lethal thing as the great empire is just about brought down by the U-boat. The empire that rules the waves had something running around under the waves that they couldn't quite deal with, and it just about brought them down. Okay, fine enough. But the rationing continues for 9 years after the war ended. This is fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully somebody could actually, go on and do some research and learn about the history of this time period and this era of post-war Britain. And, well, all of 20th century Britain.
Well, here's a new technology come along, the refrigerator.
Yeah. Technological advancement all through this. Yeah. Fridge, what do we want a fridge for? Ice in our drinks, whatever next.
Oh, there's a cat again.
Yeah, you see, the cat has become a family member over the years. It was originally a stray and it's just hanging around. You can see it's never commented on, but yeah, that's one of those visual things you can get through comics. Just if you're paying attention. It's so subtle. Yeah, because it kind of gives you the impression, that they're actually building a home over the years and decades. They're building establishing a unit for their family of three, but plus cat, I guess. Art school. It's such a shame. He might have gone to Oxford and Cambridge and got a nice job in an office. He could have been a foreman or even maybe a manager. Art school. Oh no. Hilarious. Yeah, there's a cat in front of the fireplace.
Ernest, do speak properly.
Yeah. This is just such a yeah, here we go. Modern. Well, here's a little bit what you're talking about. Meat ration to be cut by tuppence, lowest it's ever been. 6 years after the end of the war. We had more meat under Mr. Churchill. Yeah, all right. Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, their politics are very different, but they managed to make it work. Is what I'm saying. Is would there be a couple today? Well, there probably are somewhere, but it's unlikely that we're so passionate about our politics nowadays. It's just such a core, foundation of our identity today that it's just such an emotional commitment to our political persuasion that I don't know,
It was a strong element in the Roman Empire that people split the society, which was, which was very, the people down the bottom didn't have terribly much, and they were split in the Republic along two lines, and the struggles got quite vicious. And this continued to the point where later on the split, I think in the Eastern Roman Empire, there was a split based on which chariot team you followed. And they would have fights as well on the basis of that. So the sporting teams
really
became the basis for politics.
Okay.
That was the famous Nike riots, if you want to read about Justinian when he almost deserted Byzantium in the 6th century.
Look at the depiction. I mean, she's so calm and collected in the conversation, and he's so emotional and fraught and carrying on. And look how she's drawn. Very, very nice, staid, polite, mannered depiction on rendering on her. And his rendering is very active, very uh, uh, energetic.
But his
Because he
hopes
is.
are being dashed.
Yeah.
He dreamed of the socialist governments, and they've lived under the socialist government for a few years, and they're getting what all socialist governments have delivered, less of everything.
Yeah. And Briggs just visually depicts it so very well. You can see visually what's going on between the two of them.
You can't blame Hitler now, just your Labor government.
Yeah, just masterful cartooning, masterful work, really. Mm. There are students. He'll grow out of it when he gets a proper job. He'll never get a proper job with hair like that. How about that? Remember the hair? Oh, and there's crossing speech balloon tails. Look at that. What do you know?
She's got on black stockings. Mm. This is interesting. The artist's wife died a couple of years of leukemia after his parents did. He's overdone the beret a bit there.
They're the first television, and she's just fretting over it. Oh dear, what shall I do if it rings out when you're out? Well, answer it. I don't think I like it. Yeah. Just yeah, amazing. This new foreign technological object suddenly in the house, a telephone.
I took Natalia to a museum, a little local museum. They had an old telephone there with the dial on it, and Natalia just...
We still have one. Well, I mean, we don't use it.
Wait, which one?
Remember the telephone you saw, the old one with the handsets and the dial? You dial the phone like that to...
Oh, in Emerald.
You had to dial a number in the old days, you know. It was,
yeah, you had to turn it and it'll just keep on swinging back and forth. Yeah, I remember that mechanism.
Yeah. We still have ours. We still have ours. It's not connected. We don't use it, but we still have it.
Oh, you've got your own museum piece. Okay, yeah, it's not in use. It's a museum piece.
And now a television. Ooh, it's just like the pictures. We might get Victor McLaughlin. He's dead, but they could still put him on.
Oh, that's right. I checked. He died in the late 50s.
Yeah.
So this is getting pretty much on, yeah.
And there's the cat on the back of the couch. See? See, if you're paying attention, you can really follow these threads visually.
So the cat's moved in. The universal cat has moved in, which was a skinny alley cat, and now it's found a nice little life for itself in the domestic setting.
Yeah. We've gotten a lot of cats that just just appeared one day and just have hung around. That's actually a lot of our cats have come to us that way. Just seem to be a way with cats. They just pop in out of the blue somehow.
Oh dear, British Rail loses 16 million quid. Oh, it's nationalised, isn't it? Of course it is. I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's the cat again.
Yeah. It's just such a very powerfully moving depiction of these two people as they go through their lives. And there's nothing extraordinary about their lives. It's just an ordinary life of a couple, you know.
Oh, third class is out. They've only got second class now.
Yeah.
And there's the cat again.
Yeah, the cat on the fence. Mm-hmm.
So looks like the cat represents. This is an important concept in ancient legend. The cat is on the borderline originally. We purely see the cat on the borders, but what was at the borders has moved into the house.
Huh. Okay.
Now, this is where the concept of the 666 and the 7 in biblical terms comes from. In the Jewish tradition, it was probably common to a lot of people, but the border lines were not clearly defined in Jewish tradition. You know, if you had a plot of land, to avoid confrontation with your neighbour, both sides were expected to leave the borderland wild, and it became the place where beggars could find a bit of food or something like that. So this is a special significance that the borderline of the property is now moving into the house. Is there a significance here?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, a car. Amazing. even wine makes her nervous. Yeah. Yeah, she's very much a traditionalist. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
They starting to look like Alf Garnett.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Man on the moon. Man on the moon. Oh, fantastic. What's he doing there? Well, just walking about a bit. Then what? Well, come back, I suppose. Here we go. Decimal currency, right?
Oh, the cat. It's
Yeah.
on the bed.
Yeah, yeah. Cats on the bed. Mm. Yeah, they're actually going past the place. Yeah.
The cafe, which is now
Right.
boarded up and closed, and yeah, it's get 1970.
Right. Smashed all the windows. That's your Labor Party for you. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and this is it. Yeah.
You know, Ernest, your husband, my husband.
Not Victor McLaglen. Right.
So now she has dementia?
At this
Yeah.
point, yeah.
Oh,
This is not a good way to read this book. I mean, we're just skimming through it as quickly as we can in the
no,
time we
I
have.
mean, I
But
feel like, yeah. No, I
This
feel like
is-
I did get a good sense of the whole book.
this is such a lovely work. This is such a lovely comic and graphic novel. It really should be better known. It's not very well known, and it should be. So lovely. Such a work of a love poured into this. You can tell. Yeah, Raymond Briggs poured like a lot of himself into these pages. Kind of reminds me of Contract with God, right, Stephen?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Kind of the same kind of emotional tenor.
Contract with God was black and white, though.
Yeah, but look at this now. After she is gone, all he has is the cat, who's on his shoulders. How about that? You know, the cat has just become such a ubiquitous presence, and all he has is the cat to talk to and be his emotional companion now. I mean, does that not move you? Does that not give you like some emotions on that one? Because if you've been following the cat through this whole story, now that she's gone, yeah, it's just him and the cat, him and Susie. I mean, that's got to put, get you starting to well up, I think. And yeah, there you go. And then there's the cat, right beside him. Good night, Susie. And the cat has to leap off of his shoulders right when he has his seizure. He has his I think heart attack, I guess. The cat's just taking care of her own needs at this point, just wanting to go scratching to be let outside, regardless of everything else. Yeah. The cat's just utterly indifferent at this point.
How did that cat open the door?
Well, if you owned a cat before, I would imagine if the door was ajar, then it just by leaning on it, cats understand that if you lean on a door, it'll open, assuming it's not the lock isn't engaged.
But I would assume that the door would not be. Oh,
yeah,
wait
but
a minute,
if you want
wait a minute. This is a different season.
Different time because it's winter time here.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
panel.
Reaching for the door and then it. Okay, I see.
Yeah, so if you own a cat, you get in the habit of just leaving the door ajar, precisely so the cat can go in and out at will.
Okay, so he hasn't been standing over the sink that whole time.
Well, this earlier panel was obviously in winter time, and so yeah, this is just a depiction of his decline over. Yeah, I think must be a couple of months, I guess.
Okay.
He must have passed later that spring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, and now you just get, one large full splash page at a time. 41 years in the same house. Remember at the very beginning, they said this would be our beginning. We'll move to a better house, and they never did. Yeah.
And that's a new couple.
And there you go. So Ethel Ernest by Raymond Briggs. Yeah, should be regarded as a more significant graphic novel in the canon than I think it traditionally is. Rarely does anybody note it as a noteworthy work or even remember it. But very, very nice work, I think. Maybe not as, well, it's hard to say. I was going to say it may not be as intellectual and as deep as we usually are used to in this group. But yeah, but given all the stuff that you introduced, Stephen, yeah, it certainly turned out to be, didn't it? Because it's certainly a depiction of that kind of, that slice of history, that slice of the culture and the society of the time and place. Yeah, so you can dive deeper if you want.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate your guys' input with the historical information and all of that. That made it really fun.
Yeah, you can read it at one surface level, but if you do dive deeper, yeah, it's a much richer experience if you do. As Stephen and Natalia can tell you, yeah, the works that we have traditionally picked here at this Friday night comics reading group have been, yeah, a lot of them have been very dense. A lot of them have been very, very intellectual, very clever. There's a lot to work through and assess and analyze and tear apart. This one is a little bit more of a more straightforward narrative, I guess. But very, very sweet, very, very moving.
Well, it starts off in a much simpler world.
Yeah.
In a much more sophisticated world starts its march upon it.
Yeah,
and they're oblivious to it just about, aren't they? They see the signs of the new world coming, but it just doesn't touch their souls.
Yeah, they're kind of at the mercy of the progress of history, and indeed aren't we all in our own way at the mercy of the tides of history. Yeah, I mean, I read this originally a number of years ago, decades ago, I think, when it came out. And yeah, I wanted to present it to the group. And so.
Yeah, it's a particularly good one. I quite enjoyed it. Interesting thing, of course, is they made a cartoon movie out of the story.
That's right. There's an animated adaptation of this.
And there's a Paul McCartney song that was attributed to the movie.
I believe that's right. Paul McCartney did a song for that movie.
Yeah, was it 2016 or 2015, something like that?
I haven't seen it, but I plan to see it. I was planning to watch it before this, but I didn't get to it in time.
Yeah, well, they showed a few scenes of them making the cartoon, and of course, Metalia's world intrudes there, where it's no longer on paper; it's on so people are making cartoons on the technology on the screen.
I think you can find some clips on YouTube, maybe. I'm gonna catch it. I wanted to do it before we got here. I didn't get to it, but yeah, I wanted to see the movie.
I worked in the printers for about 15 years, and of course, originally when I came there, the compositing was all done by hand.
Yeah.
And then so you're looking at as the 2000s came along, they all got replaced by computers, and of course,
Yeah.
a lot of the compositors lost their jobs.
Yeah. Oh, there's another thing of us in common. I used to be in design layout for magazines back in the 90s. It was all X-Acto knives and and paste up. And for a little bit of a time, I did a little bit of that. That color press. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, back in the 90s.
Color press.
Well, I don't even remember any of the terminology. It was it was this letter sheet that would come out of the machine, and you would put the letter sheet in, and it would just print.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in the compositing. I just saw people doing it. You saw a lot of it was photographics.
And then you would take the scissors and you would. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I did that for a long time. Yeah,
a lot of I remember a lot of AGFA stuff, which was usually familiar with in the the film industry. A lot of AGFA equipment and dark rooms and stuff like that, and all got replaced by the PC or the Apple.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Does anyone know of any, events going on? Like, I don't know if you guys do anything with anime or watch movies or whatever. I was
on Poco tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did RSVP for that. That's at 5 p.m. Okay.
Looking forward to it.
How about tonight? I would assume that, I tried searching for like anime watch parties on Facebook, but